Hey, Dave. I'm not Dave Buffet. Dave, wait, what did you put? But you can call me Johnny Rocco. Johnny Rocco for yes, Key Largo, which we will talk about in a little bit. Hey, how you doing,
Can't
Dave?
wait to talk about Key Largo.
Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh,
God.
yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, hello everybody. Welcome to Late Horror Show, where we're talking about nothing horror. We're talking about Humphrey Bogart and all things Humphrey Bogart. Most of his films. We'll talk about him himself, and we'll probably talk about James Cagney a little bit, Edward G. Robinson a little bit,
Lauren
Lauren Bacall.
Bacall.
Yeah, I mean, so everything to do with Humphrey Bogart. I watched Key Largo last night too, and Dave did too. So we're fresh with that movie, and I can't wait to see what he thinks, and then get into
Oh,
talking about that
we did
film.
not watch it together.
No,
Just,
no,
just
we
to
didn't. But
stop
hello,
those rumors.
no. Hello, everybody in the chat. Connie Clary, what's going on? Edward Stewart. Guess who we'll talk about a little bit here, Edward, is the Bowery Boys or Dead End Kids. But CM, Kevin Muser, what's going on? I think that might be all. Let's see. Who else is here? Black Roses is here. Did I miss anybody else? No, let's wait for them all to roll on in. But yeah, I think we can just start off talking about Humphrey Bogart real quick for a little bit and then get into the movies because, man, Dave, he died at 58 years old. 58 years old. And Lauren Bacall went on to be 90, I think, right? 90 years
She
old.
lived really, really a long life. I remember her passing away, you know,
Yeah.
and
2014 from a stroke. Yep.
yeah. And, she was one. I mean, first of all, as we had kind of mentioned earlier in the Sherlock Holmes movies, the women are just so beautiful.
Oh,
And I think Lauren Bacall was one of the most beautiful women,
yes.
along with Ingrid Bergman. I mean, we can't forget her either.
No.
But Lauren Bacall was just absolutely stunning. And I can't wait to talk about the films that she was in. And growing up, occasionally, like maybe once every 6 months or once a year, we would have the Bogart and Bacall movie nights for a week. Channel 5 would do it here in Los Angeles. And it would be, Dark Passage and To Have and Have Not, Casablanca, or not Casablanca, but The Big Sleep. And just, it was just such a fun week.
And that's a Philip Marlowe movie. None of this new
Right.
stuff. Isn't that Liam Neeson? It was the Philip Marlowe, right? Or
I'm not sure. I was ruined by the second guy who did The Big Sleep. I'll look him up real quick.
Okay.
Because it was not. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So Humphrey Bogart. Listen, the guy we're going to talk about his kind of big jump off platform film, The Petrified Forest, to start us off here. But died at the age of 58. Who is it, Dave?
Robert Mitchum.
Okay, enough said.
Yeah.
No, there were. Okay, yeah, we won't get into it. We'll talk about Humphrey. Let's not diss every other actor that even did something similar to Humphrey Bogart. But died at 58 from esophageal cancer. Again, smoked probably 4 or 5 who knows? I mean, he was a big, heavy smoker, and it was his downfall, as was a lot of actors back in the day. But again, him and Lauren Bacall in love. He was an older gentleman, and she was a younger.
Yeah, there's like 25 years difference between them.
Yes. But they went on to have a great love affair and marriage and everything else until the day he died. And and like you were saying, though, Lauren Bacall, I do have to point out, not only was she one of the most beautiful in Hollywood at that time, she just had a distinctive look to her. You know what I mean?
Sultry,
yeah. The eyes, she just had this sultry look that separated her from most of the other women of the era, like Betty Davis did when she was very, very young. Betty Davis very quickly
in Petrified Forest.
Yeah. But which is the first movie I'd like to talk about, honestly, because it's the movie that kind of launched Humphrey Bogart into becoming a big film star. I mean, it was the role that he was. Let me pull this up here. I want to make sure I get these names right. He was playing Duke Mantee in The Petrified Forest, 1936. It was a Howard Hughes film, and that role is a gangster. It was supposed to be played by Edward G. Robinson, but Leslie Howard, who was a big deal at Warner Brothers at the time, kind of pushed Warner Brothers and said, listen, it goes to Humphrey Bogart or I'm not doing the film. And earlier on, they did the stage play together, I do believe, Humphrey Bogart and Leslie Howard, which is their connection. And he said, this is the only guy who could do it. And thank God he did, because it was just a fantastic role. And it is why it launched him into the big actor that he eventually became, taking on roles as gangsters and everything else. But Dave, this also had Bette Davis, who was this young girl in this little town, this little diner. I love the way the film is. It's kind of like a stage play. Okay. And I think it was adapted from the stage play, which they did earlier on, Humphrey Bogart and Leslie Howard. But it is, even the film looks like a stage play. I believe it is. The background, everything, almost like some of the old Sherlock Holmes or Universals, where you can see the backdrop, you know what I mean? Where the moon and the clouds and the lights coming through. It had that feel. And it basically was Bette Davis as the waitress. There was a hobo. I'm trying to remember. There was just basically really 3-4 characters in here.
One of the people that jumped out at me was Genevieve Tobin, who had an incredibly long film career. She was in one of those. She was just one of those faces that you would see in like a whole bunch of movies from early Hollywood. Yeah. But, she also lived all the way into the 90s, and just just a stunning person to watch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and beautiful. Very beautiful. Yeah. Talking about 20s, 30s, a whole different thing than the 40s and 50s. But yeah, very, very beautiful.
And I would mention also that Humphrey Bogart and Edgar G. Robinson were very good friends.
Yes, very good friends. So. Even though they would listen, Humphrey Bogart was the leading man, but when he would jump into a film with, say, James Cagney or Edward G. Robinson, he would almost, other than Key Largo, I think he took the leading role, if I'm not mistaken, over Edward G. Robinson in that film. But he would usually take the back seat to James Cagney or Edward G. Robinson in those films. You know what I mean? He was more of a supporting actor, even though his billing was up there too.
Well, his billing was up there, but he also is one of those individuals that lost out on the awards.
Yeah.
I think he was Best Actor one time at the very end of his career. African Queen. Yeah. And I think that was like 1951, 52. Should have gotten more awards.
Oh yeah. It's a shame that he hasn't, because listen, he's been in. There are movies that aren't talked about that much, which I'm going to mention the next one, that people really don't even remember him being in, or don't remember the film name, which is Bullets and Ballots. But getting back really quick to The Petrified Forest, what I loved about that film was the romance side of The Petrified Forest, because Bette Davis, she was longing to get the heck out of that little town, and again, the whole movie was shot pretty much in this little diner, kind of, where Humphrey Bogart gets in, and I'm not spoiling nothing, and we're going to get through these movies quick, unlike last time, so we can touch as many as we can.
It's only been out for 80 years. I think we're not going to spoil too much.
Well, right. But I mean, we could sit here probably for 15 minutes on one film if we want, and then we're only talking for about a few films. But Petrified Forest was very, I love the romanticizing that Bette Davis had in here. I kind of loved what was going on between Betty Davis, Humphrey Bogart's character, and Leslie Howard, all three of them. It was kind of this love triangle thing going on that was very strange. But even though he was the bad gangster, there were little bits and there were little times where you could see things happening. Hey, Kathy. Hey, NB. What's going on? Bogart is his favorite of all time. Sears James, Bubba. Schultze, what's going on? Just making sure I say hi to everybody. But no, that was what launched his career. And then we went on to, again, I don't know if you've seen this one, but Bullets or Ballots.
I have not seen that.
You have seen that or you haven't?
No, I have not.
Okay. It's another film with Edward G. Robinson where he pretty much takes kind of the back seat because Edward G. Robinson is the big guy in town, the gangster. And heck, we're still talking 1930s. So, Edward J. Robinson, James Cagney were still big, I mean, they're big names and especially when it comes to gangster films. But Humphrey Bogart did an awesome job as kind of this backup guy, gangster, whatever, that wanted to come in and take things over. And we also had the beautiful Joan Blondell, who played in a lot of movies back in the 30s, and she was a bombshell. I think that's a better word for her, bombshell.
She is a bombshell. She's one of my favorites. She was in Topper Returns. She was in one of the Twilight Zone episodes. She was one of my favorites. One of those people that, was alive during my lifetime that I wish I would have met, that I wish I would have hunted down and just introduced myself and told her what a big fan I was.
Right. And I would have liked to have put a cream pie in her face like James Cagney did. I'm trying to remember what film that was. Strawberry Blonde, maybe. But there was a film where, of course, or maybe the Roaring Twenties. I'm not sure. But he just pushes the pie right in her face. And it's just like unbelievable. Anyways. So I think the next film, Dave.
Blonde Crazy.
What's that?
Was it Blonde Crazy?
Yes, there you go. That was the film. Yes, she was sitting at the table. James Cagney was, doing his male chauvinist thing and pushed the pie right in her face. And I mean, really pushed. I'm like going, man, director must have said, let's get it forcefully, because he certainly did. But listen, I can go on and on about, we can do a James Cagney night, I think, or Edward G. Robinson. It was those two guys. And then Humphrey Bogart was kind of thrown in the mix, like as one of those. We got George Raft too. That's the other thing, Dave. What made Humphrey Bogart so popular was George Raft. If George Raft didn't turn down many of the big roles that he took or didn't take, and Humphrey Bogart took them, who knows what would have happened a few years after that. I'm sure he would have found films and done well, but he would take a lot of the ones that George Raft passed on. And George Raft was another one in a lot of the gangster films and stuff back in the day that you never forget his face. You know who he is. And he was another one of those just great actors back in the time period. So, yeah.
And what's really cool is so many of the people in the chat are listing their favorites. And it's just they're all different. We haven't even gotten to the core of his career yet. And it's like, I like this one. I like this one. So,
yes.
I mean, you don't realize, like for me, Bogart did 4 or 5 movies.
Yes.
And you really, you look at his, list of movies, it's like in the 80s. So,
yeah. And I'm going to try to touch on as many as I can, but yeah, there's really 4 or 5 really big ones, that of course, my favorite being the Maltese Falcon, which we will get to and talk about, of course.
Oh, I'm surprised. I thought it was going to be something else.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk about that, huh?
All right.
Adam for Christ, what's going on? Yeah, let me see. Joan Blondell's last movie was in the Grease movies. Yeah, I think, wasn't she the receptionist in the school? Am I wrong? I think that's who it was. I don't know. Anyways, it doesn't matter. All Through the Night is a worthwhile film, says Frederick Fogg. Good to see you, Frederick. Just seeing what everybody else was saying is their favorite. Anyways, we
I
will keep.
remember James Cagney smashing that grapefruit into Mae Clark's face.
There's another one.
Oh man, The Public Enemy is such a fantastic film.
Oh yes, yes, The Public Enemy. The Public Enemy, Angels with Dirty Faces, The Roaring Twenties. Man, really anything James Cagney did throughout the
Except
30s.
the musicals.
Yeah, well, I said through the 30s.
All right.
I'm not talking about the 50s, James Cagney.
All right.
He started to, go in a different direction. But Night Fright Talk Show, what's going on? Treasure of Sierra Madre, Beat the Devil. That was also a movie in the later years of his life. I do believe one where he had to have surgery because the cancer was really starting up. And he had some voiceovers in that film. And one of them was a young Peter Sellers who voiced over some of the lines that he really couldn't get out.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. So it's very interesting that took place, and Peter Sellers has some history behind some Humphrey Bogart films. So there you go. But
now, can I ask you, on your watching of these types of old films,
yeah,
how do you like to watch them? Is it in the middle of the night? Is it in the morning? Is it on in the background? How do you like to, like for me,
enjoy
like when we get to the big sleep, I love to watch these black and white movies in the late night, 11 o'clock, midnight, turn them on, have my drink next to me, and just kick back and watch and be taken into the 1940s.
Yep, there you go. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm kind of that way, Dave, with everything, just because it's the way life has, you know what I mean? You're in the day, you're either working, you're getting stuff done, and when can you settle down and relax and watch your movies? So it really depends, what mood I'm in for, to watch. Like, during Halloween, it's of course Universal Horror Monsters, but these, definitely, you get in bed, all the lights are off, and the black and white is right in front of you, and you can jump right into the 1940s, right, or 30s or whatever. So I'm the same way. And again, there's a few films that I always go to, and I think we know which ones those are, but there are the few, like Bullets and Ballots, that every 10 years maybe I'll take and watch that, so I've watched it a couple times, maybe that's it.
And I also think a real good movie to tie in here as well is Steve Martin's Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
I remember watching that as a teenager, absolutely loving it. Summertime, middle of the night, staying up with my buddies and just loving him playing opposite Bogart and Cagney, and it was just such a great film.
No, I love it. Rafael Rosario, Joan Blondell, waitress in Grease. Secretary was Dottie Goodman, Eve Arden principal. Okay, there you go. So we got that cleared up. Good to see everybody, and hello, Rafael. So the next film I think we can jump to, and I'm hitting kind of the main ones as we're going up the list here, is Dead End. It's where we're kind of introduced to the Dead End kids, the Bowery Boys, and it's also got Joel McRae in it. So, but yes, it's your typical Dead End kids. They see Humphrey Bogart as this big guy, but then they find out the criminal life is not such a good life, and that's basically the movie. But just great performances all around, and it's the first film introducing the Bowery Boys, or Dead End kids, and the second going to be Angels with Dirty Faces, of course. But have you seen Dead End?
Of course I have. I am a huge Bowery Boys, Dead End, East Side Kids fan. with Leo Gorcey and Hans Hall and Bobby Jordan, who is probably my favorite. Although I realize, he died really young and probably not the person I'd want to know in person.
Yeah.
But we were talking earlier as well. One of my student assistants, her grand uncle would have been Billy Hallop from the Dead End Kids. And she's all, you probably don't know this person. I'm like, bet me. I definitely know that person. So that was kind of just a really wonderful surprise a few years back.
Yeah, isn't that interesting when somebody comes up to you and tells you like you probably don't know this person, but and then you do, and they find out there's a lot of people out there who love the old stuff, So yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, which leads us. Go ahead.
Do you have a favorite Dead End Kids movie? Because I know Ed Sturt's going to put his in the chat any moment.
Yeah, Edward Stewart, let us know which. Dead End Kids or Bowery Boys or whatever. I mean, when it comes to what movies they're in, Angels with Dirty Faces is my favorite film, but it's not a Bowery Boys film. Bowery Boys had, oh my God, Edward, how many films did they make? 50, 60? Some were high. It was very, very high.
They made it to the Bowery Old Men.
Yeah.
But for me,
Spooks
Run Wild is a great film. I think Ava Gardner's first film was a Bowery Boys movie as well.
Okay.
Spook Louder, that was the Three Stooges. And then there was my favorite of their group was called Boys of the City, where again it's kind of like they go to a haunted mansion, but they're hiding out from gangsters.
Yes, that was another good one. Yeah. That Spooks Runs Wild just stands out to me because I've seen it so many times. But I can pop in many Bowery Boys movies, and I enjoy just about all of them. So I mean, they're all great. But I know the list is super long, Dave. I know that. Raphael says, wasn't Bogey in a Western? He was in a 3 or 4, something like that. I think the biggest being The Treasure of Sierra Madre, which you can consider that a Western, right? Yeah, that's
I do. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Action adventure, Western, they're digging for gold. Come on.
But only if Raphael has a badge.
Right. A badge. Oh, jeez. Which takes us to the next film, Angels with Dirty Faces. Okay. So here we have James Cagney, leading man. Okay. Pat O'Brien, also a supporting actor, but you can clump him, Pat O'Brien, great role as father, and Humphrey Bogart in this film. And Humphrey Bogart kind of plays supporting to James Cagney's leading. And we also get the Dead End Kids in this movie. What I do love about this movie is James Cagney, where he keeps looking back and he's trying to become a better person, but he's just not quite doing it. It's not in him, and there's kind of always that message in a lot of James Cagney movies. I don't know if he had a lot to do with that. I think you know what I'm talking about, Dave, where there was an element of, please, kids or whoever, don't become a criminal, don't become a gangster, don't do what I did. It seemed to be always a thing that he had at a lot of the end of his movies, right?
Yeah, now that you mention it, yeah.
Yeah. Because it stood out in this movie as well. But Humphrey Bogart in this movie as well. I mean, very, very, very good. Kind of the counterpart to James Cagney, and they kind of went back and forth. Not to get into, I don't know what your thoughts are on Angels with Dirty Faces. I mean, come on.
This is the one where, is it Pat O'Brien is the priest?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So yeah. I mean, it was a good film. It's it's a Bowery Boys is there. It is kind of that. How should I call it? It does have those regular late 1930s compartments of, you do want to transition into being good.
Yes. Yes. Again, I think that was something James Cagney did a lot. Again, I don't know if he had something to do with it or if he took those scripts and made them, this is the role I want to, play. But yeah, always seem to have that in there. Same with, I can't, I was going to say the Roaring Twenties, but I can't jump over Dark Victory. Have you seen Dark Victory?
Dark Victory is one of my early favorites.
I'm
not a huge early Bogart fan. I'm more of the 1940s group.
Okay.
So yeah. Dark Victory is probably the first one where I'm like, okay, this is starting to get really, really good.
Okay. Yeah, no, listen, it depends what I'm in the mood for. 30s has a whole different vibe.
It does.
More of that, well, I'm not going to say more of that gangsters, but yeah, more of that gangster thing going on. And then once you get into the 40s, it's more, not so much gangsters, but the criminal activity and the private eye and stuff like that you kind of get in the 40s. Just so there's kind of a switch in the way the movies are played out. Right, Dave? Am I wrong?
No, I agree.
Yeah, okay.
But it's that also, it's kind of that transition from, those actors who were in the talkies or, the silent movies into the talkies. And of course, in Dark Victory, we have, once again, Bette Davis reunites with Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah, go into Dark Victory. Tell me a little bit about it.
Basically, she plays a socialite. She has a disease, and she is going to die. It's kind of the overall arching branch of the film. And I think it's a brain tumor that she has. It's, but that's really the main kind of focus of it. But it's Bette Davis, and I'll tell you, I'm not a huge Bette Davis fan.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what, Dave? You're going to be shocked, but I'm a little bit in agreement with you on that. There are the very early Bette Davis films, a handful that I really like. And then you get these decades of films where I'm just was not a fan of those types of films. It is the films that she stars in that I think take away our love for what she was doing, maybe a little bit. I don't know. Could be. At least I think that's the way I feel about it. But then when we get to Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, such a standout performance.
Yeah, that is spectacular.
Yeah, a little bit of horror. You get a whole different Bette Davis there. So, but I agree with you a little bit there. Not to mention, no, I'm not going to be mean. Anyways, let me just say, Bette Davis, late 20s, early 30s was so beautiful.
Yes.
Let's move on.
Pre-code.
Yes, pre-code. Yes. Which takes us to the Roaring Twenties, which came out in 1939. So we're ending that decade of the 30s, and which, like we were just talking about, has a lot of gangster elements in it, and this is one of them. And James Cagney, of course, takes the leading role in this, and but Humphrey Bogart, and man, you just can't walk away without talking about the actresses too. Priscilla Lane, who was another beauty in this film. They all were. I don't know. You had to have a beauty in all of these 30s films, so it is what it is. But I think this is the film I'm trying. I get a little confused here on some of these, but this is the film I do believe where Humphrey Bogart is trying to push his way in on James Cagney's racket, what he's got going on, the prohibition, the all of that stuff, and that's basically what the movie's about. And you get a lot of 20s feel to it because it is the Roaring 20s, so they did a good job. It's only 16, 15, 10 years later, so how can you not do a movie that looks like the 20s, right, Dave? Am I wrong?
Very true. Edward Stewart had put down the film of Ava Gardner, Ghosts on the Loose. So that was another Dead End Kids with Bela Lugosi.
Okay, that's right. Yes, yes, yes. I'd have to think about that. Is that it's not a big deal. Both of those films, I'm sure, are probably equally as good. But now that Edward mentioned that, I probably watched that one just as much as Spooks Run Wild. But because Spooks was Run Wild was public domain or whatever, it showed up on a lot more TV, like late night or afternoon TV shows, that you would watch when you would come home from school, than
Okay.
others. So, yeah, yeah. So, how about the Roaring Twenties? I mean, you must love
Haven't,
that. Is it too early? You
haven't
haven't?
actually haven't seen that one.
Oh, okay. Oh my God.
Yeah, my next one on the list would be your favorite, the Maltese Falcon.
Okay. Okay. um,
Which
high speed. What are you? Well,
go
you know
ahead.
what? Let me
I'm
say
just
this.
saying, we're already 30 minutes in. We haven't started talking about the good ones.
No, I know. Real quick,
All
and
right.
then we're hop to the good ones. Brother Orchid. Okay, that was done in 1942. That was another Edward G. Robinson film, along with Humphrey Bogart. I think it was almost equal billing. It had Ann Southern in it too. Very beautiful. But it was a film. I love it so much because uh, the style, everything. But Edward G. Robinson is trying to become a better person, and he's trying to get uh, into the monastery and become part of Brother Orchid. Anyways, if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's a very, very good film. I know we got to get to the good ones. Here we go. But listen, that is a good one.
That's one of the things that I'm really enjoying about old movies
Yeah.
and knowing about all these others, because there's so many out
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
that I still have to like Key Largo, that I've been like holding on to before I watch it.
Well, let me ask you about, and we'll go right to Maltese Falcon, but
Hey,
They Drive by Night, 1941. Have you seen that? I mean, 1940?
no.
You haven't seen They Drive? Well, see, you would have immediately gone to They Drive by Night if and not skipped it and go to Maltese Falcon if you've seen it.
Okay.
Let's see. When one of two truck driver brothers loses an arm, they both join a transport company where the other is falsely charged as an accessory to a murder of the owner. Anyways, it's still got that. It's kind of a criminal feel to it. So it's one. They Drive by Night is highly ranked for Humphrey Bogart films. But anyways, the Maltese Falcon, Dave. Let's go. Let's go.
The Maltese Falcon is probably one of the best films ever.
Yes.
I
Sam Spade.
I will tell you, that's one of the things that bothers me about Humphrey Bogart movies, is because they are one-offs. He plays the character one time and he's done. He could have done Sam Spade again. He could have done Philip Marlowe again.
Yes.
Why didn't they do sequels? Why didn't they do other? Oh, it just makes me so angry.
Well,
But
if you think about it, well, Sherlock Holmes did it afterwards. Charlie Chan did it before. Mr. Moto did it before. But maybe they thought I didn't want to fall into just being Sam Spade. You know what I mean?
True.
Who knows what kind of talks went on behind closed doors? You know what I mean? So maybe I get it, but I agree with you. I would have loved to have had more like Sam Spade, more Maltese Falcon type films. Who the heck knows what that would have said for the history of anyways, the Maltese Falcon though. Continue, Dave.
Maltese Falcon, I remember watching it as a kid for the first time, and my dad actually made me take notes because I would get lost in the film because there's so many things that go on.
Yeah.
I remember us watching it with the Late Late Horror Show on a Sunday afternoon, if I'm not mistaken. That was the first time I had seen it in a really long time. Sidney Greenstreet, Mary Astor, Elisha Cook Jr. plays that perfect role for him.
Yes.
And Elisha Cook Jr. is also in The Big Sleep, which I will tell you is my favorite Humphrey Bogart film.
Me and you were talking right beforehand. We mentioned like because I said Maltese Falcon is my favorite, and he said, "Oh, I thought maybe something else was going to be." Listen,
I actually thought Casablanca would be your favorite.
Well, listen, let me say this, Dave. It is like by grains of sand that separate the Maltese Falcon, Casablanca, and the Big Sleep.
Okay,
So
so it's like the Frankenstein movies. That is like,
yeah, kind
you
of.
know, all right.
Kind of. Yeah, I mean they're so close. I mean, but the Maltese Falcon, it's so complicated and done so well. So many little storylines going left and right, and a left turn here, a curve here. The Peter Lorre character. I mean, I think just one of the great. I think one of his greatest performances too.
Yeah,
And he's
I
been
think
in.
so.
Yeah.
The Peter, and another thing, while I was thinking about it as I was watching a lot of these movies during the week, was that you have characters that are in like two Humphrey Bogart movies. Like, for instance, Peter Lorre is in, um, I'm sorry, The Maltese Falcon and Casablanca.
Yeah.
And he's just not in any of the rest. Elijah Cook Jr. is in two films. Obviously Lauren Bacall's in several of them, but
Oh yeah. And Edward G. Robinson. Well, he teams up with all the greats, but yeah, Peter Lorre in two of them, but in this movie, we all know just they all give probably the best performances of even Sidney Greenstreet. It might be. I'd have to look back on some of his other movies, but I mean, can you top that too? I mean, he played the perfect fat man in the movie. I mean, that's what he was called. So I'm not saying nothing bad. Listen, but Peter Lorre's character, jumping at a queer character too, kind of a little bit there. Not a big deal. Doesn't throw in any, doesn't change anything for the plot. But how Peter Lorre was trying to be so tough, and Humphrey Bogart or Sam Spade, slaps him right onto the ground. It's just, that is the best, one of the best scenes in a movie ever. I love it when they're in the office and stuff. Oh, it's so good, Dave. Favorite part of the film? I don't know.
I don't know if I have a favorite part. I do love when the iconic scene where they're ripping the newspaper off of the Falcon. I think that's so good. And then they try to scrape it, and it's like, it's not gold. And
yes, it's black. They painted it black or whatever.
Yeah, then they go on to their next adventure wherever they think it is next.
Yes. Ian Sharp, hello. Chad Farr, hello. Wilhelm Meister, big thanks to the channel for great content. Thank you very much. And thanks for my great co-host here, Dave Plouffe, who loves a lot of the same things I like, which makes it easy to talk about. I mean, thank you, Dave. Let's see. Anybody else? Ian Sharp, I did mention that. Big Sleep was a little convoluted. Dave?
It can be, definitely.
Okay.
You have to watch it a couple of times, but it's... do you want to go ahead and move on to that one? Are we done with the Maltese for right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's
we can jump around.
Not a whole lot more to really talk about. I think everybody's probably, or most people, seen the Maltese Falcon, and again, one of the greatest films of all time.
Yeah, and Sam is right. They don't get too far, and including Mary Astor goes to jail, and Sidney Greenstreet and Peter Lorre are also arrested at the off camera, at least.
Yeah. We'll go to Casablanca.
We're gonna go to Big Sleep first.
Oh, okay? Let's go to Big Sleep.
I'd like to do that because that is my favorite movie. That is my go-to. It's my comfort film. Anytime it's raining here, I love to throw on the Big Sleep in the background because it is just so cool on various levels.
Okay, and I will let you go. The Big Sleep, 1946, directed by Howard Hawks. Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall. Go ahead, Dave. Take it away.
One of the things that I love about these types of films in the 40s is when they give all the stars, they have it on that diagonal right on the first screen. They may do Humphrey Bogart, they may do Lauren Bacall, but then everyone else is listed on that very,
Diagonal, yeah.
that template, that's in all the films.
Love that you pointed that out. Yeah, it's a distinctive thing they did. Yeah.
General Sternwood is the character here, and he's got 2 daughters, as he says in the film, one pretty and one pretty wild.
Yeah.
There is a blackmailing that goes on, and it is just phenomenal. The women are stunningly beautiful. Even the cab driver, the bookstore owner, all of them are just absolutely incredible. Dorothy Malone is the bookstore owner, and she died just 5 years ago. Another person I wish I would have known where she was. I would have loved to have met her. Early on in the film, there's one of my favorite quotes. General Sternwood asks Humphrey Bogart, how do you like your whiskey? And Humphrey Bogart replies, in a glass.
Nice.
But he hires Humphrey Bogart as a private investigator. He is Philip Marlowe. And anytime you read a Raymond Chandler book, and I'm a big book collector, I have all of Chandler's books, and I have read them all and all his short stories. There is no one that enters my mind when reading about Marlowe than Humphrey Bogart.
Philip Marlowe. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the film that Liam Neeson just did. Philip Marlowe.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the one I was going with. Illuminati Land. Humphrey Bogart and Peter Lorre made 5 films together. I said 2. I guess
it was. Yeah. May have been
wrong. Yeah. They must. And now I'm going to have to go back and look and see which ones he was in with them, because I can't think of the other ones. I'm sure I'd remember them once I heard them, but go ahead. Go ahead, Dave.
But it's just one of those totally, and I will tell you, I don't care for the movie as much toward the end, but it is, every place you're going, it's raining. They're driving these old 1940s Packards. They're all dressed nice. They've got a suit. They've got the overcoat. They've got the revolver. They've got the hat. It is just perfection in terms of
noir
movie making, and noir. It's the lighting. It's the actors that were used in the film. I was just also thinking that the criminals, especially in The Big Sleep, were ugly. You have the really good looking, like Humphrey Bogart and these types of people, but then the criminal, and I forget I'll have to look it up online. The guy who played the criminal was very, very scary.
In The Big Sleep you're talking about?
In The Big Sleep, yeah.
Okay. Oh God, I'm trying to think. See if Alicia Cook Jr. was in this too, but you're not talking about him.
No, in fact, he gets murdered at the very end of the film.
Yeah.
He tries to protect one of the characters that he's in love with, that he thinks he's going to go off and get married to, and she didn't like him at all, which is kind of feeling really bad.
That was the other thing in Alicia Cook Jr. He always, there was a Peter Lorre. Anyways, why am I veering off? Forget it. Shut up, Dino. Okay, let's continue. What I love about The Big Sleep, Dave. Yeah, see what happens. I love the intricacy of Philip Marlowe trying to when he's doing his investigations, like the way he I know these are simple things, but the way they shot him. Going to the house, nobody's home, or he doesn't think anybody's home, and searching everywhere and looking. It's that noir feel that we talk about that you get in this with him just investigating everything. And if you're listening to the old time radio shows on with your eyes closed and you're picturing what's going on and you're listening, this movie, more than a lot of other ones, kind of visualize what you're hearing on a lot of the old time radio shows, because he does a lot of investigating in this film, and you see it's done so well. And I must say, out of all of the films, Lauren Bacall, when she's in the back of the cab in this film and the light hits her, probably the most beautiful shot ever. So
Yeah.
just saying, pointing that out there. Johnny Rocco is got to talk here a little bit, but
Bob Steele was the the enemy in this one. Canino was his name, and he has the shootout at the very end.
Lash Canino
with Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah, there you go. Let's see, JP and Wilson. Hello, what's going on, JP? Yeah, lots of good chat going on, man. Talking about the Chandler books and everything. Yeah, you guys, man, you guys make this stuff fun just listening to or looking at the chat too. I'm still aggravated over the 5 films that they did. It's eating at my brain at the moment, but it's all good. Maybe a Lux Radio Theater Bogart marathon. I can do that, and I think I've done that in one of the Lux Radio Noir streams that I did. But yeah, it's coming soon. We got Johnny Dollar tonight, you guys. Oh no, shoot! I mean, we got The Great Detective, Insurance Detective. Anyways, I think you guys can figure that out really quick. Johnny Rocco, say yeah, Johnny Rocco. Also hit the thumbs up, please. Check out the links in the description and below. There's a link there to Dave's channel if you like gardening. He does a weekly walkthrough. I think you're on week 36, or you're going to be on week 36.
Something like that. I'm in the 30s, so
yeah.
But it's getting warm here, so
yeah, yeah. He's planting flowers. Say he's got a run every night. Yeah.
As Sears James says, it's the paranormal gardener.
The paranormal gardener. Yep. I still don't think that's a bad idea. You can come on and talk about gardening, paranormal wise. Then we could slip ghost stories in while we talk about it.
Gosh, didn't you play the other night too? The guy from England. Now I can't remember his name.
Yeah, Simon Entwistle.
Thank you.
Yeah,
there's so good to hear him.
Oh yeah, there were 2 streams I did with him. One on Jack the Ripper, and then the other one was just straight out Victorian stories, Victorian tales, whatever. But I let him go on the second stream. If you guys didn't, it's a classic, so it wasn't live. But listen, it was a stream that I even cut out the beginning of the show because I just wanted you guys to hear him talk about these stories, because he's just such a great narrator of these stories. So well done, so good. Let's see, The Maltese Falcon, All Through the Night, Casablanca, Passage to Marseille, Beat the Devil. These are the okay. All Through the Night, Beat the Devil. Okay, see, Beat the Devil I never seen, and believe it or not, I've never seen Passage either. So there's 2 films right off the bat I've never seen. I have seen All Through the Night. I forgot that one. But yeah, the other 2, I don't know if you've seen those, Dave. Did you see Passage in Marseille or Beat the Devil?
No, I have not. I want to say I have seen Beat the Devil.
Okay.
But I would have only seen it one time, and it doesn't ring a bell right now.
Right. Again, you get a very much older Humphrey Bogart and a very different, not a different Humphrey Bogart. He's always him, but in Sabrina, which we're going to talk about probably a little bit more towards the end, if we have time, a great movie, Sabrina. Well, hell, I could talk about it real quick now. Sabrina, he does that movie. Let me go up there too, because I just want to make sure I get these names correct without being an idiot. I loved Sabrina, and one of the reasons I loved Sabrina is because I love Audrey Hepburn. She is something to behold on the screen. Am I wrong, Dave?
You're not wrong.
Breakfast at Tiffany's. I mean, the list can go on and on and on. She's just spunky. She's funny. She's beautiful. And in this, she's in Sabrina. She's a young girl, I think in college or getting ready to go to college. And Humphrey Bogart's an older man. And again, it was the only thing in the movie that I went, why is she falling in love with such an older man? But it's Humphrey Bogart, for God's sake. So, but the dialogue, the banter, everything, it's such a great film. You got to see it, which will take us now to, which one should we go to next? Let's see. We just talked about The Big Sleep, right?
We did. We can talk about Casablanca. We can talk about Dark Passage.
Yeah.
We can talk about Key Largo.
Well, I'll say All Through the Night is another great movie. That was 1942. We skipped over that one, but definitely it's got Conrad Veidt. That's how you say it, right? Am I wrong?
He played which film?
Oh God, All Through the Night. All Through the Night. He played the what's that movie? The Laughing Man. Inspired the Joker, The Man Who Laughs.
Oh, okay. Yes.
That's the man. Who very distinctive and all that. But yes, All Through the Night. He's in there. Again, another Broadway gamblers turn patriotic when they stumble onto a cell of Nazi saboteurs. It's something we've seen a lot of in the beginning of right after the war, 42, during the war, after the war. Even the Three Stooges did it. They did it quite a few times where, let's break up that Nazi, thing going on there. But they did it.
They also went after the Japanese.
Yes, they did. And we'll leave it at that, Dave. But
yeah, I understand.
Yeah. A funny episode, though. Oh, my gosh. Okay, so All Through the Night, yes, another typical, kind of gangster film there. And then we go to, oh, my God, I'm skipping over things here. There's way too many good ones. The other one was, where am I at, Dino? Come on. You said Dark Passage.
We've got Dark Passage.
We've got Casablanca. Let's go to Casablanca.
All right.
So many films to go and touch on, but let's hit the big ones. I mean, Casablanca, so good, Dave. I don't know.
In your opinion?
Wait a second. Don't tell me you hate it.
Okay, I thought about Ted earlier today, and you know how Ted
I'm about ready to leave.
Is such a great guy. Yeah. And he just doesn't like Young Frankenstein, and we don't know why.
Yeah.
I just don't like Casablanca. And I know it's like number one film of, AFI and all this stuff. And I love Humphrey Bogart. I love Ingrid Bergman. I love Peter Lorre, all these great, fantastic individuals. I just don't like the film. And I especially hate the ending. And it's one of those films I'm like,
I'll give you the ending, but what overall about the film? Number one on your list. I don't like Casablanca because
I think, number one, it was my dad's favorite movie.
Okay.
I think I saw it too many times.
Okay.
And I think the lines in it are hokey now.
Okay.
We'll always have Paris.
We'll always have Paris. Come on.
Out of all the gin joints, she had to walk into here. Oh my God.
I get it now. Listen, I think the only thing here, those lines are great, Dave. But I think because you heard it so many times and seen it so many times, it probably got on your nerves. And I can totally get that. I understand it. Dave gets a pass, you guys. Dave is about to get kicked off.
I just saw that.
Mike Barrett, where you been, man? Good to see you.
Yeah, good night, Dave.
Even I'll be Joshy says, "Oh, Dave."
I know, and it's kind of like maybe having the same thing for lunch every day. I don't want to have this sandwich anymore. Yeah, type of ice cream. It's just.
Oh, Sears James is joining in on the club there. He hates it too.
Oh wow!
Thanks for the comment there, Sir James. No, I'm just joking, serious. Listen, I get it. You know, there are some great films that people just can't stand for multiple reasons. Just like Dave said, I think I love everything about it. I love the lines. I love the characters. I love Lauren Bacall. I mean, Ingrid Bergman, Lauren Bacall. I love Ingrid Bergman in this film. Oh, you got to agree with that.
I mean, that's why. Why did he let Victor Laszlo onto the plane? I would have shot him, taken Ingrid, and we would have lived happily ever after.
I know. Listen, I'm not saying I don't think there's some issues with the film, and that is one of them, and the ending is one of them, and I still picture them being together in the future, but I wouldn't have left her or had her leave. Or yeah, no, I get it, but you know, the romance between Ingrid Bergman and Humphrey Bogart was just fantastic. I mean, and like you said, so many lines that just have been referenced in my life over and over again that I just like, oh, Casablanca. So I love it for all those reasons. Dave hates it for all those reasons, but I get it. Anyways, wow, I thought we were going to, you know what? Let's hit Key Largo because we've got 30 minutes left, and who the heck knows how long we'll spend on it.
All right.
Let's try to take some time on this one because it's your first watch. And again, Key Largo comes a little bit later in his movie career, 1948. So Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall, still, you know, at the top of their game in 1948, you know, with this movie. Key Largo, I think, is, I'm going to say, a bit underrated when it comes to the big films, even though it's considered a big film. But I think it's a little underrated for where it stands in the history of his films. You know, another John Huston film. Do you want me to go into the plot, or you want to start talking about it? I mean, it's also got Lionel Atwell in this. I mean, Barrymore. I'm sorry.
It was my first watch. I had never seen it before.
Yes.
I do remember it playing on commercials when I was a kid, and the famous scene of during the hurricane, the windows, you know, opening during the storm.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, I absolutely loved Key Largo. It was a fantastic film. First watch, maybe 8 out of 10 is what I'd give it. It was a film I would watch again.
Sounds about right.
Loved all the characters. Loved the story, the plot line. Needless to say, loved Johnny Rocco. See?
Yeah. Say, Johnny Rocco's putting you in a room. Say, and you're not going to do nothing. Say.
And he got in a kiss of Lauren Bacall, which I was very jealous about. Yeah. Even though she did spit on him, I would have taken that too, honestly.
Yeah.
There was it Claire Trevor in there as well?
Yes.
As the singer, and that was just I thought,
drunk.
What a wonderful character. And you always have these drunks in these films, and they're so notable in terms of characters. To Have and Have Not, you have a guy who they refer to as Rummy, you know. And I loved the setting. I loved the mood. I loved the isolation of the hotel.
Yes.
I almost put down for my avatar down below Porter at the Hotel Largo. But, you know, I thought it reminded me very much of an Alfred Hitchcock film. And the idea where the weather plays a character, just like it does in Psycho.
Yeah.
And
interesting. Okay.
It was just really a very fun film. I loved it. It had everything in it because you knew that Humphrey Bogart was already in love with Lauren Bacall, and he was going to come back to her, and he was, you know, he was going to have a shootout with the bad guys, which was exciting, just waiting for that to happen.
But
And
but the most interesting part of the whole film was how smart Humphrey Bogart was. Like even taking the pistol, when Johnny Rocco, here you go, you kill me now. And Humphrey Bogart takes a pistol and he says he didn't know that there were no bullets in it. But I think he did. In my mind, I think he did. He played Johnny Rocco. He made him the fool without him knowing he was the fool. Johnny Rocco, Edward G. Robinson, Johnny Rocco used to be the big gangster around. Okay. They kicked him out of the country, and he wants that back. Okay. And this ex-GI, Humphrey Bogart, comes in and just makes him into a fool without him knowing it. Just the dialogue, everything he says, just coming back and just playing it perfect to where nobody got killed. Well, people got killed, but the main ones didn't get killed. Lauren Bacall was fine. Humphrey Bogart was fine. Even Lionel Atwell, who, again, Dave, his character, big mouth, gotta love it. Didn't want to take no crap. He's in a wheelchair.
No, he was going to go kick his butt.
Yeah.
He got up out of the wheelchair, even took a swing at him,
Yes.
fell down, but, it was awesome to see that.
Oh, I loved it. Listen, Lionel Atwell, over the years, I mean, he was similar to, not similar to It's a Wonderful Life, because that was a little bit more mean-spirited. He was more of a good guy in here, but he was also mean to the people that he wanted to be mean to, which was Johnny Rocco. Yeah, see, listen here, old man. Sit back and I loved it. I loved Lauren Bacall she was silent in the film. Not a whole lot of lines. Didn't need a lot of lines. But just her expressions, the way she went about things, they all walked the line. And Edward G. Robinson being the spotlight throughout, the whole film. He was the loudest character. He even when he got nervous when the storm started coming in, he's center of attention right on Edward G. Robinson, not to mention the other guys. A couple of those guys really put me off, Dave. What was the one guy with the hat, the laughing, the guy who all laughed all the time? You know what I'm talking about? Let me look. I'll look it up.
Go ahead and look it up. Is it one of the cohorts of Johnny Rocco?
Yes. What was his name? Snoots or?
Yeah, I remember him asking, "What's so funny?"
Yeah. Toots.
Okay.
Edward Toots Bass, played by Harry Lewis. He would call him Toots. He was one of those guys where he was the guy who would torture things out of you. You know what I mean? And there was just something smug in the way his character was. I just didn't like it. But each one of those characters, yeah, they all very well. And then the ending scene, Dave. I mean, geez, how he pulled that off. Just such good writing. Such a good
one
story.
of the things I was expecting to happen too at the end is, basically they're on this boat, they're headed to Cuba, and it's just we're waiting for him to pull the gun and start shooting all of these gangsters.
Because the Claire Trevor slipped him.
And I was ready for that to happen, and I knew that it was kind of like she's grabbing his gun, and it's gonna, she's gonna pass it off to him, and so he's on this boat.
Yeah.
And there's 1, 2, 3, at least 4 bad guys.
Yes.
And they're headed to Cuba. And one of them, the one that was laughing, he's sick.
He's sick on the boat.
Growing up over the edge of the boat. And he tells one of the other guys, the more heavier set guy, that he thinks that there's some kelp in the motor blades, and he leans over, tries to work it, and then he slams on the gas, and the guy gets knocked into the water. I thought at the end of the film that guy would come back and shoot and kill Humphrey Bogart. That he
Really? Okay.
I did not, because I did not think that the boat traveled that far, and that guy could have swam, and jumped back on the boat.
Huh. Okay.
That's what I
Interesting.
was expecting to happen, but
I
obviously
think.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
He does get shot. He does, do his job and kills the gangsters. But it was really interesting to me about how the different ways people died in this film.
Okay.
You had people dying heroically.
Yeah.
For instance, the movie's premise is that Humphrey Bogart was this guy's captain in the army, and the guy basically sacrificed himself at, like, I think it was Monte Cassino.
Mhm.
And he, stayed up for 3 days shooting the enemy down, and he finally gets killed. And this is the guy who is married to Lauren Bacall, and whose son or whose father is Lionel Atwill. And so here's Humphrey Bogart explaining in the early part of the film that this guy died valiantly in the war.
Yeah.
And then we have people who die because of mistakes. For instance, like the two Indians get shot and killed.
Yes.
Only because the people didn't know the whole story.
Right.
You had the police officer who died,
Sawyer.
shot by Johnny Rocco.
Yeah.
Sawyer. Again, trying to take that risk and shoot and kill him, and again, kind of sacrificing himself. And then Humphrey Bogart, of course, at the end, making sure all the gangsters died.
Yes. All the gangsters died, and all the people at the hotel who he cared for survived. And he tried. Again, I think that was the best part of the movie. I mean, everything was great about this movie, but the performance done by Humphrey Bogart and the way the writing was with the character himself to get out of all of these situations that were thrown his way. I mean, there's even a part where Kevin said it. I need a drink, Johnny. Please give me a drink. Well, sing a number, sing a tune, and I'll give you a drink, which he lied about. He wouldn't give her the drink. And I keep calling him Humphrey Bogart. When Frank McCloud gets up, he just gets up, goes back there, pours her a drink, walks it over to her, and they let him. They're like, because they were shocked. They're like, what is he doing? He's getting her a drink. And he gives it to her, and Johnny Rocco goes up to him, and Edward G. Robinson just slaps him in the face, like 4 quick slaps. Boom, 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 boom. And she says, thank you. And after the slaps, he goes, straight face, you're welcome. And just goes and walks and sits back down. And I thought that was just awesome. I mean, that was just, and that's the whole film. Him just getting by, getting killed by Johnny Rocco. And then comes the storm, which throws Johnny Rocco off because they're all scared to death. And he just was too scared to go and do anything. Yeah.
I love the phone conversations that he was having as they were staging this basically convention for gangsters.
Yeah.
And, he's all, what do you mean? Just going to be a little bit of rain. Don't tell me you're scared of a thunderstorm or something.
Yeah.
And
because he makes the boat, whoever the driver of the boat was out there that was going to take Johnny Rocco and the gangsters to Cuba. Even though this hurricane was coming, he told them, you stay there. You do not go anywhere. And I'm like going, I'm with you, dude. I'm getting out of here. I'm not letting a hurricane kill me. Yeah, and that's what happens. And then Humphrey Bogart it didn't have to. He could have died and been shot. But he goes and takes the
CM is leaving us.
CM, see you later. Thanks for stopping by. Much love to you, CM.
I thought she had left when I told her I didn't like Casablanca, but that's okay.
Yeah, she that might have been why she's leaving now. Even maybe she caught up. No, I'm joking. Take care, CM. David Wharton says two of my absolute favorites are In a Lonely Place with Gloria Graham and Treasure of Sierra Madre with Walter Houston, and directed by his son John Huston. David Wharton, I'm guessing you're a Western guy. I bet you're big into spaghetti westerns. I'm just guessing. But Treasure of Sierra Madre is another fantastic film. But I mean, I think that's Key Largo. But go ahead, Dave.
I just wanted to mention also, I thought one of the coolest characters was the old Indian woman.
Yeah. How could we not talk about that when she gets off the boat?
She gets off the boat. She's like 118. She rolls her own cigarette, and she's, you know, so wrinkled. I mean, she's like a geographical map, you know. But she's that wise old woman, you know, that, oh, is this your new husband? And, oh, no, it's not my husband, you know, and just, she, you know, knows that the storm coming in is going to be, you know, horrific and all of that. So, yeah. She was actually in 2 films.
Really?
Was her career. Yeah.
Okay. The other being, I guess it doesn't. The other being, no. I think they put her in there for like.
It was Cowboy, the Cowboy and the Indians. 1949.
Oh, okay. Well, look at you. I think it was just, she was like probably one of the oldest people on the earth at the time. I mean, 108. And she looked it. So I'm guessing that's it. So they put her in front of the camera and kind of spotlighted her just for a couple odd minutes. It was kind of strange in the movie. It's like, why is that there except to show, wow, this woman's really old.
Yeah, she was 80 years old at the time of filming.
No.
And she lived to be 96.
Okay. So she wasn't really that old. She was only 80.
In real life, yeah.
Okay, so that makes it even more perplexing. I don't understand. Anyways, yeah, Johnny Rocco needs a shave, see? It's sweltering in here.
Yeah, and that was one of the, really, like, as I mentioned, kind of the weather was so cool in the film. It was hot. It was sweaty. You know, you had him hanging out in the bathtub is when you first saw him. You know, he was just, you know, also kind of the epitome of cool. You know, it was, you know, getting that razor shave, which I would absolutely love to have one of those. You know, because you do see him in all the old Western movies and things like that.
Yeah, no, fantastic. I mean, it is really good. And you guys mentioned in the thing about Pepe, yes, Bold Adventure. Their introduction to old time radio, Bold Venture, and we will, on this channel at least, always go down as Pepe and all the murders that took place, especially on that episode. Pepe the Killer Cock, I tell you. But you know what? I see why they didn't continue. I mean, first of all, his health, you know, probably one thing. And then just wanting to continue with the movies, you know, who knows? But we do got Bold Adventure, and they are good. It is a good series. I don't know how well you like those, Dave.
They're good. I like them.
Okay. Well, how about we go to...
But I will mention, since we're talking old-time radio.
Oh, yeah.
Let's Jack Benny program.
Yes.
I was watching Humphrey Bogart's episode today. It was fantastic. Again, kind of later in life, right before he died. So, you know, he's kind of more of this, you know, I hate to say shrunken type of person, but, you know, when you're about the same size as Jack Benny, you know, you're not as super powerful. And he plays Babyface Bogart, and it is kind of a police procedural where Jack Benny is the police officer. And this is just one of the skits in the program.
Yeah.
And they bring in Humphrey Bogart, and they kind of slap each other around, and it's fantastic. And they were friends in real life. I've read I'm a big Jack Benny fan, and I've read several of his biographies written about.
They're close together, I think, right in Beverly Hills. No, am I wrong?
Yes, I believe they were on the same street.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's what's good. Dave does his well. He's a reader, so you've read a lot of the biographies probably to some of these people we are going to end up talking about probably down the road here and stuff, which makes it nice because I haven't.
I've even been a stalker. I've gone to Jack Benny's house and hung out.
Oh man, you know what? I wouldn't say stalker. I think that would be a cool thing for me to do too. I would love to do that.
Yeah. Well, I figure he's dead, so he. But it was just, I mean, his house is incredibly beautiful, and knowing that Lucy and Desi lived next door at a certain time, and even as we had talked about, Basil Rathbone,
yes,
lived up the street from them. So.
I know Jack Benny always joked about Ronald Coleman living next to him, but I don't think he actually really lived next to him.
He didn't, but he still has to return his Oscar.
Right? Oh, I love that episode, Dave. Well, I love every Jack. There's not, again, the old time radio show ones. I mean, there's not too many bad ones. None of them are bad. That's what's strange. People can hit and miss and do some bad films, but if you like an old time radio show, I don't think there's a bad episode in the shows that you like. I mean, I could be wrong, but anyways, I also like Jack Benny. Since we were talking about that, I loved when he recreated scenes of the stars from the movies when he would have them on. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I even think he did a Sam Spade or a Philip Marlowe, like himself. I think an episode.
He did. He did Murder at the Racket Club.
There you go.
Did 3 of those.
Yeah.
He did a lot of, we were talking about Edward G. Robinson, and he recreated a lot of his movies as well.
Exactly. Yes. His last film was The Harder They Fall in 1956. Then soon after, I do believe 2 years later is when he passed away. But yeah, The Harder They Fall, 1956. The last 4 films, 5, let's see. The last 5 films of his life, I mean, I really, well, I guess I can't say much about it because I never seen them, honestly. I saw bits and pieces of The Harder They Fall and never really completed it. Same with The Desperate Hours. But The African Queen is probably the next one we should go to. And it might be the last one we really talk about, I think. But yeah, you want to hit this one, Dave?
Sure. The African Queen is actually set in World War I rather than World War II. And they are in Africa. And he's transporting this, not minister, missionary, played by Katharine Hepburn. And I remember just like the goal was to destroy like a German boat or tank or something like that.
Yeah.
Toward the end. I do not like Katharine Hepburn. I do not.
No way, Dave.
Oh my God.
Oh my.
I do not see, like, dude, you've had Lauren Bacall, you've had
Dave, David. You don't talk bad about me.
Katharine Hepburn. I mean,
really?
Oh my God. Yeah. Because again, I think that growing up, and when cable first came out, I remember the only thing on was On Golden Pond with her and Henry Fonda.
Yes.
And I just never liked her. And it's just.
I get that. You were exposed to On Golden Pond with her.
Yeah, I like him a lot. And yes, Raphael, that's Humphrey Bogart's Oscar for Best Actor.
When he won the Oscar. Yes, that's his only one. Yes.
But again, with The African Queen, the river, to me, is a character. And as they go over the falls and they're, it's really neat. It's a little weird as well because it's in color, or at least Technicolor. I would rather have black and white. I think it would have been a better film.
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah, no, I was gonna. I mean, I saved it for last, and I wanted you to talk about it because I listen. He won an Oscar for it, but again, I watched it, and the Technicolor. You know me, Dave. The Technicolor blew it for me. Listen, there's some things that I'm just I guess you can say I'm a snob about. Listen, the classic actors like Humphrey Bogart, when you see him in everything black and white,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden they hit you with the African Queen, which listen, it was written great, and like Dave said, the river, it was really a good set, and shot in a great location. It was, but when I see the color, I'm just going, this don't look right. It just don't look right, and it just blows it for me. And I just say, don't like it. And I haven't watched it since that first time I watched it. So
Yeah. I think as well, like, when we look at the history of film and we have those actors that made the transition from silence to talkies, from pre-code to post-code, and from the color, from black and white to color, I think that's a really difficult thing to master.
yeah,
I think I'm much more like you. I'm much more maybe of a purist,
yeah.
where Humphrey Bogart is black and white, period.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't even like seeing pictures, although I do,
Yeah.
of like him, Lauren Bacall, and I think they had 2 kids. Their personal family photos that are in color. It's like, it's
Well, somebody
it's
did that to my grandparents' picture, their wedding photo.
okay.
And when they colorized it, I'm like going, no, it don't look right. It just don't look right. So yeah, I mean, it's just like you said, it's of its time. There's certain characters that do films, and then once at that very beginning, like African Queen, it's one of the first, and again, they didn't perfect it. It's just something that just
Right.
didn't look right, and we were just in our mind, we're used to the black and white. So that's just how it goes, and you know, insult me if you will for being that way, but I am. But I'm Johnny Rocco. Say Johnny Rocco. SNL's Kristen Wiig does an outstanding Catherine Hepburn. Jake,
They actually,
very well done, Dave, with my films. Anyways, loved Bogey.
SNL does a great Casablanca skit as well.
Yeah. No. Listen, her voice was done over and over and over. Probably a little too much, a little overboard on the let's make fun of Katharine Hepburn's voice, but it was a distinctive thing, and it was her. But
And Kevin brings up that Ted Turner did a lot of colorization.
yeah, he's an idiot. Ted Turner's an idiot. Anyways.
Yeah, and that's just because he married Jane Fonda.
Well,
but also with colorizing, growing up, I remember when he was taking a lot of flack for starting to colorize some of these old films, and he's all like, no, this is the wave of the future type of thing. And I was like, you, what an idiot for doing that and ruining it. I would not even watch like a colorized Three Stooges.
Oh no,
show.
no, I'm not watching. There's Laurel and Hardy's that are colorized. They colorized most of them.
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh, they colorized most of them, I think.
Wow.
If you buy the UK set, it's a gigantic box set, which yes, have. It has the black and white version and the colorized version. And I'm going, half of this box is a piece of crap. But yeah, Dave, it just does not look right. And yes, Ted Turner, I think he was trying to be a businessman.
Right.
If he was a lover of, listen, I know he is because he restored. That was his whole mission, most of his life, to restore these films, lost films,
Turner classics, right?
Yeah, but I think that was a business decision more than anything, is what I think.
Okay.
And Martin Short did do a great Catherine Hepburn and still does. Only Murders in the Building. Have you seen that, Dave?
That sounds familiar.
Steve Martin, Martin Short. It's on Hulu. It's the third season.
Yes.
Yes, the third season's getting ready to start. Love it. Love it. It's so good.
I was going to ask you if you had ever seen the TV show of the Wild Wild West.
It's been so long, Dave, but yes, I've seen it and I do remember it. Classic.
So that's one of my favorite TV series.
Okay.
And it went on for 4 years. The first year is black and white because they couldn't afford color.
Yes.
And the next 3 years were color. There is nothing that beats that first season of black and white.
Yes. And you know what stands out in my brain?
What?
My memory, the black and white ones.
Okay.
I almost don't even remember. You just saying the other 3 seasons are in color. Yeah. I don't remember that. So, but again, I didn't watch them all anyways. So something I probably should revisit and watch the rest of them, but I would think. But Travis DeLuca, hello. Black and white is always better with the older movies. If it was originally black and white, listen, I said this a million times, and I do not know why Hollywood doesn't get it. They tried rebooting the old Universal horror movies. I said, why don't they reboot them all in black and white and set it in the same time period that it was set in the original movies? I think it would have been such a hit. I mean, maybe I'm crazy, Dave. I don't know. It's just an idea I had.
Well, beyond that, I think that is a great idea.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I want to, I'm drawing a blank. The soap opera.
Dark Shadows?
Dark Shadows. Thank you.
Oh,
was that black and white and color?
Oh, Edward Stewart. Yes. Were the very last episodes, were they in color? I know that the made-for-TV movies that kind of come, House of Dark Shadows, was in color. I don't remember any of the series being in color, though. I think they continued to stay all in black and white. Somebody please let me know before we go here. Somebody will. But I think all of the TV series was black and white. And then they went to House of Dark Shadows and the made-for-TV. And those did end up being in color. And 100% had a different feel, of course.
And I will also mention Trotter Horse Watson Jr. I got to talk with Robert Conrad a couple years before his death. 2016, 2017, he had a radio program on the internet. And every Thursday afternoon, he'd be on for an hour or two. It was after his stroke. So, he could only, he would drink with one hand and, just talk and stuff. And people would call in and I got to talk with him just one time, but it was really, really cool. And he was one of my heroes. So.
No, very cool, Dave. I grew up with the Wild Wild West movie with Wilson. Okay, yeah, no. Travis, you're blocked.
Sorry to hear that, Travis.
You're blocked, Travis. No, I'm joking. How dare you bring that up with this same... anyways.
That's another good one. Ian Sharp brought up the Munsters never looked right in color. 100% agree.
Yes. Edward Stewart, 68, I believe they went to color. So the series did go to color. Okay. Why? Again, not coming to my mind. But yes, Munsters never looked right in color. Okay, as much as I'd love to keep going on here, I think we covered a good amount in the bulk of what we really wanted to accomplish with talking about Humphrey Bogart. So, yeah. Right, Dave?
Yeah. Yes, that was fun. Thank you.
What's coming up next, Dave? Is it Art Bell number 4 for us, or what are we doing?
I'm not sure. I thought we would talk a little bit afterwards. But on Thursday, we're going to be hanging out together.
Yes, this Thursday we'll be hanging out with who, Dave?
We're going to be hanging out with Mike Davis from the Lovecraft e-zine.
Yes.
And we're going to be talking Sherlock Holmes. We're going to be talking Lovecraft. We're going to be talking comic books. We're going to be talking Kolchak, and I expect Edward Stewart to be there. So, and
Yeah.
Sears James and Connie.
Yes,
And
everybody. Yes, yes. Be
please
there
join
Thursday.
us.
Yes, yes, yes. So, yes, July 6th, we'll be talking with him, and then you'll see it posted what we're doing Sunday. So, with that said, overnight tonight, Johnny Dollar, please hit the thumbs up button. If you enjoyed the stream, leave a comment, all that good stuff. Go over, check out Dave's channel. It's linked in the description if you like gardening or cats. You know, Bo. I saw your last video where Bo started chiming. I heard you talking about the animals getting in around the one part of your garden bed there.
Yep.
You're glad there wasn't. It's not raccoons. Man, those guys. Anywho, let's let's say good night.